And welcome to another episode of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are in the hemisphere. This is Gary Smith, and in the studio, we got a packed house today. To my left is George Crumley. Welcome back, George. we were remiss last week. We didn't mention him last week. He chewed me out about it this morning. The PC, I put it on you, man. I put it on you, Paul. I'm telling you, man, it's a shame. Paul didn't even mention your name.
I guess I'm the closest one in the room. You got to put it on somebody,
I
huh?
had to put it on somebody, man, so I put it on you. All right. So anyway, welcome, gentlemen. We back in action today. What's going on, George?
Man, we got a full house today, man, and it's really good to have all of us back together. Crotchet Old Man, it's been a minute, so we got a good show for you today. We've got two super duper guests in the audience there that's going to really help us share this message. But before we get there, PC, what you got?
Oh man, it's just a beautiful day, man. I'm glad to be back with the crotchety old men and our guest for today. I'm really curious about this chocolate that we're going to talk about.
Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, we've got Pam and David Griffin with Chocolate Therapy. You know, they have a very unique story, both from corporate America. David, 25 years, president of an automotive manufacturing company, and Pam with Starbucks for over 17 years. And I think their story is so interesting. But what they've developed is a company called the Chocolate Therapy. It's a handcrafted chocolate shop specializing in chocolate made with therapeutic ingredients and innovative flavors, focused on providing an extraordinary and unique chocolate experience. Welcome to the show, Pam and David.
Hey,
Awesome.
hey.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, George. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, hey, I've got to start off and ask, we talk about, starting a business, and typically it's a hairdresser. Typically it's something that's so that, cleaners on the corner, something that we see on a day-to-day basis. But tell us, how did you come up with this idea?
I'll let you take that one.
Well, there's a lot of research that went into it. When I left my last assignment, I was actually commuting from Boston to Ohio. I was doing that for 2 years, literally flying out every single week. It was a great opportunity, great job, had a lot of fun, but very taxing on the marriage, very taxing physically on me. And so kind of decided to do something, for ourselves. So when you think about going into opening up your own business, especially coming from industry, I understand the goal is to make money. Okay, that is the absolute goal, is to make money. How are you going to do it? And I looked at different franchises. I'm into fitness, and I worked with a franchise coach. She directed me to a supplement store, kind of a franchise.
Boring stuff.
Yeah, hydraulic hose company. I mean, actually, fittings for hydraulic hoses is a thing because of industry and manufacturing and everything. I looked at that. And then I ran into this guy that had chocolate franchises. And so I flew down to Fort Lauderdale, and the thing that really stood out in my mind is that I was at the hotel. He came to pick me up because he wanted to sell me one of his chocolate franchises. He came to pick me up in a triple white Bentley.
Which we do not have, by the way.
Okay.
Just saying.
But I mean, he just kind of explained the chocolate industry to me, and I learned a lot. In that one day spending time with him as he was trying to sell me this franchise, I picked up and absorbed a lot about chocolate. And so I walked away, given the fact of, looked at how profitable it was for him. He had several franchises. It certainly piqued my interest as to something that, might want to investigate and get into. And so just started doing a lot of research. And so when I thought about it, the topic of chocolate, the product of chocolate, first of all, it's sustainable. And that's very, very, very critical for a business. The thing that I come up with, and I liken it to, if you think about frozen yogurt, that was, you had frozen yogurt places all over the place for about 5 years, and then they were gone. Okay, it was a fad. So you didn't want to jump in, you didn't want to pick something that was a fad. Chocolate has been around forever. Women love chocolate, and it looked like it would be around for the foreseeable future. So I thought it was something that it would be a product that would be sustainable. So that's kind of like how
The beginning.
the beginnings and kind of pointed me in the direction of doing chocolate.
Yeah, when he came to me about it, that was a lot more interesting than hydraulic tools and all that other nonsense. So that got me when he said chocolate. And so that's how
Mhm.
we started looking
And
into it.
she wasn't even on board initially. I mean, it's like chocolate, you know. So it was. I had to, convince her. I had to convince myself that this is something that made sense to get into.
Mhm.
And so I started doing the research and took some classes in chocolate making. And coming from a manufacturing background, the key to this was making sure that there was equipment that could produce this product, because that's the only way you're going to be efficient enough to make money. And so it wasn't like we had a lifelong passion for chocolate or anything.
No.
It was more so trying to find something that was functional, something that was sustainable, something that we could make money on. And those were the determining factors that allowed us and steered us into the chocolate business.
Which we're still
But
figuring out.
let's roll it back just a little bit, because that was basically my second question is, okay, so now, David, you come up with this, pretty good, I'm not going to say great idea, but I'm going to say a pretty good idea of how to, move on from corporate America. Like I said, you had been in corporate America for, at this particular president of a company for over 25 years. So
Yeah.
then how did you convince Pam? I mean, that's one of the things that, a lot of people don't examine in starting a business is going into business with your wife. It's that's not something you see all the time. So just kind of, and maybe this will come from Pam, is how did you convince Pam that this is the way to go?
Well, see, you got to keep in mind that I was not working; she was working. Okay, she had a job, and so I'm trying to get this business up and going. And the thing is, yes, how do I convince her? How do I get her on board with the chocolate train? And it was just more so the research. We would go, and actually we started having fun. I mean, we went down to New York to the chocolate show. I think that was the first thing that we did. We went to a fine chocolate show that dealt with fine chocolates. And it was just interesting at the crowds that were there, the level of enthusiasm for this product of, high-end, fine chocolates. We did come across a guy actually who turned out to be our mentor, who was second generation chocolate. He was called Fifth Avenue Chocolates at the time, until he got sued by Mars because of the Fifth Avenue bar. Okay. But anyway, he was second generation, and he just kind of took to us. I mean, basically, we told him we were thinking about getting into the business. And I think he was kind of like, he wanted to go down the franchise route also. So I think in the back of his mind, he's thinking, well, these would be good franchisees, to get his franchises up and running.
But his chocolate wasn't good.
It was just mediocre. And throughout this whole process, it was average chocolate. Even the franchise guy that I talked to, the name of that franchise was called Chocolat. His chocolate was middle of the road. It wasn't nothing outstanding. It was decent, but it wasn't anything that, wasn't really anything outstanding. So it was that type of thing. I took classes. I did the experiments. And I don't want to get too geeky and technical about the chocolate making process.
Please.
Please
it's
do.
okay.
Please do not.
Please do not. Because I can now. I didn't get down into the weeds.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
That's not.
All right.
But I'm glad you offered that, because what I really want our listeners to take away from here is this, because you guys are saying some very key things that all of Black America needs to understand, and hopefully you're taking notes. First of all, you call it research, and nothing wrong with that word. But from the beginning from go, you did your due diligence. You immersed yourself in the process, because too often we'll run out here and try and start a business from scratch. Why do that? when there's a business model that's already proven, there's a customer base that's already established. And then as you continue to grow that business model, don't try to recreate the wheel. All right.
Right.
Follow the process and master the mundane of building a business. That's what I'm hearing. All right. Because
Yeah,
had you
it
not
was
done the research, you wouldn't have known good chocolate from bad chocolate. You wouldn't have known a
exactly
bad process from a good one. But now you
right.
guys go ahead on, man, because I'm loving this right here.
Okay.
It's
Well,
really it was a challenge though because we would he went to classes. He went to an actual 6 week like a course. I took little independent classes with real like individual chocolatiers. So I was like really standing next to the chocolatier and she's making her stuff and David's, making stuff and bringing it home. And we had the fortune of taking samples to the people that I was still working with. So we needed an audience besides us, like thinking, is this really good? And the people were going bananas over it. So we were on to something.
and I think that's a very valid point. That's a very key point. When I was taking those classes, she was taking because there were some chocolate snobs at Starbucks, and they would every Wednesday I would have class Tuesday. Wednesday, she'd bring the samples that I made, and they got to the point where they were like, "Where are the samples?" I mean, they were anticipating these samples coming.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very, very important point because then at that point it's like we were on to something
Something.
here because the chef that I studied under was Chef Delphine. I always remember him, and he had this class at the Cambridge Culinary School, and uh, the other analysis, and once again a little bit into the weeds, but we look at chocolate as an experience. So it is. You look at the melt rate of chocolate, the mouth feel of chocolate, and the overall experience of chocolate, and that's how we evaluated whether it was good or not. So there's a lot of engineering factors. The melt rate, the way we design our truffles is that you go through the shell of the truffle first, melts very easily. Then you get access to the center, which has more of the flavor. And so this is all process. You'll get some chocolate where you'll like have to chew it and chew it and chew it, and no flavor comes out. I mean, it takes a lot of effort and energy to get any kind of flavor out.
Most people don't even think about any of that. You get a piece of chocolate, you pick it up, you bite it, and you're done. You chew it up and you're done. And so
Mhm.
it is also, when we do classes or when we talk to people or have audiences to help them understand how you actually eat a truffle or to let it melt. And, you can even smell it. You may get certain aromas, based on what the flavor is. So it has been, that is where once I started taking classes, became excited. But I still was nervous. And that first year we did, you mentioned very earlier about quitting your day job. And I was like, what in the hell did we do? And so it's been a journey. It's still a journey.
Oh, every day. Every day's a hustle. How are you going to make money today? I mean, that's when it's not for owning your own business is not for the faint of heart, because there are exceptions to the rule of people that just open up a store and hit it big, and it grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
Those situations do happen, but
I got another question.
they're few and far between.
Right.
And other than
I got
that,
another
like
question.
What I'm interested in is, Dave, you come from the automotive engineering area. Pam, you've come from you've had experiences in chocolate by dealing with Starbucks, and the two of you were able to amalgamate both of your backgrounds, and I'm curious as to how that occurred for the two of you being husband and wife.
Well, it is still occurring. We've been married 37 years, and it is not easy. We do not agree on much of anything. David always, this is his role where he'll come in and say, someone has to be, what's your word? Flexible.
flexible.
He is not, but he says it to the public. And so
Yes, I am.
it is just really, the one thing is that we have the same goal, right? And so how do we make money? How do we grow this business? David has a different way of I doing it. I have a different way. And so we just somehow, sometimes we both do our way. And then it's like, okay, two people in here just doing their thing. And then we realize, okay, we got to figure out how to do it more in sync. But it's challenging. We have some kids that have worked with us for as long as we've been in business. And, they kind of laugh. They're like, oh, they'll put their earbuds in. Mom and dad are fighting. And these are not our real kids. These are our work children. But it takes a lot to just like keep, bring yourself back to focus. And then, as I said earlier, small businesses have been glamorized. And so people looking outside in, I mean, we are successful Black-owned business, a married couple doing chocolate. And that's, good. And we have had some amazing highs, some hellish lows, but you learn to just make it work, and you got to keep moving, because at this point, you can't just stop.
Absolutely.
You can't quit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It's worth it. You have freedom. Okay, it's worth it.
And so let me share something.
Except for David thinks he's the boss.
You know what? That's all right. You all the bosses, as long as you got a process. But here's what I want to know. I
do want to share something with you, though. That is the positive side of owning your own business. And doing this for 10 years, and a lot of times it's 7 days a week. Okay, I'm making chocolate 7 days a week. And I've never, ever, ever had a hesitation about going into my business. When you're in corporate America, Monday morning comes around after the weekend, it's like I got to get in my car, I got to drive into work. It's like, oh my God, the weekend's over, got to go back to work. Never, ever, ever had that feeling. And I don't view this as work. I just don't view this as work. I mean, it's
I'm holding back so many jokes, but I'm going to hold them back.
It's my business. And, it's very rewarding. It is very, very, very rewarding.
Okay, Gary, ask your question so that I don't say anything.
Well, I like to talk, margins. We talk about the chocolate business. There's a lot of franchises out there. Let's talk margins. Let's talk business. Okay, you talked about the product and all. I want to hear the numbers. What's the margins? How, there's other people listening out there and say, hey, that might not be a bad idea to get into a franchise or start one. What is your point? What is your take on that?
Well, the thing is, right, the margins are key. And so what we've done, we've actually, over the years, we've accumulated equipment that puts us in a position to where we're very, very, very competitive from a pricing standpoint. I don't know if it's.
Well, when you say that, Dave, I gotta pause right here, because when you say competitive from pricing, I mean in terms of market share, because you could be the price, you could be the most expensive chocolate out there and make buku money. All right, so I'm sure you're not the cheapest out there either. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, sound like you base your product on quality. And so if it is,
So I would say that our price point is pretty similar to the Godiva price point. We did that research also.
Okay.
When you talk about Russell Stovers, and just to put things in proper perspective, you talk about like Russell Stovers, which is low end. Okay, you're probably going to pay somewhere in the vicinity of $8-9 a pound for the chocolate. When you're talking about Godiva, now you're talking about $45, $50, $55 a pound for chocolate. And when you talk about some of even the higher end, like there's a Toysher is out here.
European.
So it's a European, the really, really high end. You get into the $80-90 a pound of chocolate.
Some are 100.
Yeah, some of our, I did sampling of chocolate that was basically $100 a pound.
Wow. So unless you got a large volume for that'll sure slay your margins.
Yes, that is correct. But the one thing that I noticed is that there's a limited clientele that's willing to spend that amount. Right. You've got to come up with the sweet spot where you have a broader audience, a broader clientele that's comfortable coming in, and if people are comfortable coming in and spending $2, a lot of people are spending $2.25, $2.50 for a truffle. That's our per piece price on average.
Mm-hmm.
But then some people walk in and say, "Ooh, I could get a Hershey bar for that," and then they walk out. And we say, "Fine, go have
Right.
your
There you
Hershey
go.
bar."
Right,
Right.
I got a,
exactly.
That's absolutely correct.
I've got a
Absolutely.
question for the two of you. I was looking at your bio and you were talking about therapeutics. I'm a holistic doctor, so I'm kind of interested in how you arrived at the therapeutics and what kind of therapeutics that you add to the chocolate, because chocolate is therapeutic in itself.
That
You
is
Right.
know,
correct.
it affects the hormones, especially for women with the estrogen. And I'm curious as to the other kinds of therapeutics that you put into your chocolate and what it does for us.
So it's funny because we do have to be careful. So when we are addressing that or when we talk about it, because a lot of times, so chocolate, it makes you smile. It warms your soul. It makes you happy getting a nice, good piece of chocolate. When we did, I forgot who it was with, but we advertised one of our specific truffles. It was called the Cure. It's made with cinnamon, bay leaf, and cayenne in a dark chocolate truffle. It's one of our best sellers. But when we had this on, it was on some local show. This lady called and was going to buy pounds, like just wanted so much of it because cayenne is good for arthritis. So what we have to let people know that yes, we use cayenne in some. We have some with sweet potato, pomegranate, olive oil, sea salt. There are many different unique things that we make our chocolate with, but it's not going to cure or assist in any, aiding anything. But if you, in moderation, have a nice piece of our chocolate, it is very different than eating a bonbon or some sort of cream truffle from another competitor.
Or a Hershey bar.
A
Right.
Hershey bar. Yeah. Well, the thing is,
So let me ask you this.
the
Let me ask you this.
thing is,
Um, as you guys are chocolatiers, do you ever have a chance to deal directly with people who grow the cocoa beans? Let's say from Peru, South America, West Africa, Central
uh,
Africa, and how does that affect your business if you do have those connections?
no, we don't. We've had, it's
I
interesting.
had a few.
People have come through. One person was in Jamaica, uh,
Haiti,
Haiti,
Ghana.
and we had a regular customer in Ghana. Now, he's supposed to be getting back to us because Ghana is interesting. Just a little tidbit, and if you take one of our chocolate making classes, you'd learn this. But Ghana chocolate is actually 65% of their GDP in Ghana. And so they basically were the Ivory Coast in that area supplies 70% of the world's chocolate. And Ghana has always just been supplying beans. They're making a conscious effort now to start making chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
They were just basically known as a bean supplier shipping all around the world. But now there's money to be made in chocolate. So, and like I said, it's 65% of their GDP. So it's big. I mean, it's their biggest form of income in Ghana.
And we're not bean to bar. So when we get it, we do use a Belgian chocolate because we like just the profile of that chocolate and it goes well with our truffles. But there are companies, small chocolate companies, that get the actual beans and then they grind them and they heat them and make the chocolate liqueur and do the whole 9 yards. We don't do that yet. We get it in a form of bricks or little Calais, and then we melt it and then we, make our truffles and things with it. But one of our bucket lists, which I say we better do it before we get too dang old, is to go to a chocolate producing country because it would just be a really great experience. Pick the pods off the tree, wash the cocoa beans, let them dry, and really go through the whole experience because that's that's where it all happens. And so we don't have that yet. We've had a few close, but not quite.
I just want to make sure that our listeners out there understand that this is a successful Black business. You guys have been in business for over 11 years. And I've had the pleasure of actually coming to your store and watching the process. I kind of always think back to that episode of Lucy and with the conveyor belt. But
I'm Lucy.
And I'm Ethel. I couldn't even be Fred. I mean, I couldn't even be.
You
Exactly.
started to be Fred. Okay. But my point is, you've changed your model a little bit. You're now getting out of the customer facing. You're moving into a new facility, And just want to talk about how do you scale a business like this, and how did you make a decision that, you know, customer facing was not necessarily our key? Let's move into a different building. Obviously, changing our model a little bit, changing how our money is going to be budgeted. Talk to our audience a little bit about that.
I'll take the first part of that, and then David can pick up. But so we're not. We will still have customer facing. It will just be less of a footprint. So we will have a small retail space. So we're moving to a new spot. People will still be able to come in, and, because they've got to get their gifts. We're getting ready to go in our busiest season, which is the holidays. But it's just most of our space will be for manufacturing, because we pivoted in the pandemic, and so the pandemic we had to change our model, and so people were home, but they were ordering chocolate like crazy for themselves or for family or for coworkers. And then we started doing our chocolate tasting classes, which really saved us pretty much. We were closed for 4 months. These chocolate classes allow companies to bring employers all over the country. We've had some from Canada and, all over, across the U.S. So that is also why. But we have a wholesale business, we have the, retail, and then we have corporate. So you want to talk about it all, the pivoting in the pandemic? That's why this changed us.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is we had a lot of space, dead space sitting there. And this is something, if you open up your business, especially retail operation, we had sit down, we had tables, we had chairs for people to come in and sit down. That business never materialized. For 10 years, it just never materialized. So we made this move. It is a smaller footprint. There is no sit down chairs or anything like that. It is just walk in, walk out retail. And that was the business. That's the way our business model evolved. You have to adapt to the market. Okay, that is also a key to survival. You got to adapt to the market. Pandemic hit, we adapted. We created these classes, these virtual classes, and corporations found themselves in a position where they could have, employees get together and have an hour of fun. And that turned out to be very successful for us. So there was a big market for that. Now, pandemic's over, that market has kind of fallen off. Wholesale business seems to have picked up. Corporate gift business seems to have picked up. So the footprint, the business model is ever changing. And I think that is something that is necessary and expected when you do have a small business. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, year after year, that's not a healthy situation, a healthy environment.
You won't survive.
You have to adapt as the market changes, and it will change every single year. Those are one of the challenges of owning your own business.
Good stuff, really good stuff. You guys are really hitting home what we talk, to our audience about all the time, which is, exposing yourself and taking advantage of an opportunity. And you guys are really hitting a, home run with that. Like I said, I've had the opportunity of enjoying your chocolate. My wife loves it. I ordered, a couple times a year because it's a great product. So, we want to obviously expand your audience by having you on this. So you want to give your audience how to get in touch if they want to order it, how they can order it, and give them some of that information?
Absolutely. So our website is thechocolatetherapystore.com. And we have, you'll see us on there and information about our classes and collections and how you can shop. And our email, if you just want to shoot us an email as well, that's chocolatetherapy2011@gmail.com. Ask us any questions. We are also all over social media. Chocolate Therapy is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I always tell people you can follow us and then you can keep up with the lifespan of my husband to see how long he survives.
Check in and make sure I'm alive.
Right.
Okay.
That's important.
It is. That absolutely is.
But yeah, we're the chocolatetherapystore.com is that's our website.
All right, I'm going to end it with this. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening and trying to, find businesses. How can we get away from corporate America? Two things share as far as if you're thinking about starting a business. What would you tell those young entrepreneurs?
My first thing I would tell them is have a solid plan to, set up so that you can have some sort of, format of what you want to do and where you want to go, and have some capital, because it changes every time you blink an eye. Something happens, or you've got to be able to kind of change with it. And so, and it is, for minority businesses, it is very hard to get capital. It is almost impossible, but don't give up is the one thing I would say.
We did it. I would not suggest people do it the way we did it, which is just basically take a gigantic leap and leave your job and jump into it. I would not suggest that.
And don't work with your spouse. I have to add that in. I know that's a third thing, but maybe not start there. Let's just put that out there.
Well, if you happen to have a spouse that's on the same page,
then
it would work.
Right.
But if you have opposing views, then it adds another dimension of challenge.
Yes.
But that would be the biggest thing. I mean, if you can ease into it and develop a clientele, that would be the best thing.
Yep. Do the research.
Jumping into it, just based on 10 years of having done it. We did it, but I don't know necessarily if it would work for a lot of people. We lucked out, I think, just because we picked a product that would allow us to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people pick a product that it would not allow you to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm just going to add that, even though you're saying your don'ts, basically what you did and how you did it is the way a business is actually formed. Sometimes it's the mistakes that get us to where we want to be, because without mistakes, we can't succeed. You have to fail, and then you succeed. So even though you're saying that don't do that, it's actually a feather in your cap to, take that leap of faith, have a plan, work your plan, stick by your plan. Sure, you're going to have bumps and scrapes and fall downs and gets up, but that's the tenacious attitude you have to have anytime you're getting into a business. I applaud both of you. I've known you for years. Like I said, I think I put on Instagram, you're a godsend. I'm glad you got, I say, God puts people in your life for a particular reason. He definitely did that for you two, for me and Sharon. So I just want to say that publicly. But, I wish you guys all the success in the world. Continue to do what you do. Continue to influence people. I hope this brings you much success and 1,000 more customers, because I want to see nothing more than I want to see is you guys successful. So with that said, as we always end our podcast, Smitty or PC, which one of you guys going to put those words of wisdom out there for us?
I've got a little something that I've put together. I didn't put together, but I've pulled up here. And it's kind of in keeping with the husband and wife duo and the kind of attitude that they've had toward life. And here we go. At the end of life, what really matters is not what we bought, but what we built. Not what we got, but what we shared. Not our competence, but our character. And not our success, but our significance. Live a life that matters. Live a life of love.
Well, all right. That give you something to chew on. Hey, and as we always say on the Crotchety Old Men podcast, if you didn't know, now you know.
Now you
Thank
know.
you very much. Take care. Peace.
Hey, peace and much success and love to the both of you.
Thank you. Got to get you guys some chocolates. I'll make sure to do that too.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Peace.
All right.
Take care. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Hi, this is George with the Crotchety Old Man podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed listening to the Crotchety Old Men as much as we've enjoyed making each episode. If so, send us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you at the Crotchety Old Men podcast at gmail.com. Let us know what you enjoy about the show, what you'd like to hear more of. We'd love to receive your feedback. Remember, that's the Crotchety Old Men podcast at gmail.com. And as we always say, if you didn't know, now you know. Peace.